So get your first finger, stick it on the D string, G string, second fret, and that's a D chord. It often reminds me of the bagpipes. Hear that drone, that bottom D. In the bagpipes, they always have that drone going. So that's the kind of feel we're going for, the sound we're going for. You've got to kind of imagine that. Now the scale, the D major scale, will go up on the top E string, although it's a D now. So on the top D string, we're going to go open, second, fourth, and fifth. So just try going up that 0, 2, 3, 0, 2, 4, 5, 4, 2 off. And then play that chord again. So 0, 2, 4, 5, 4, 2. And if you do a pull off there, so you pick it and then a pull off. They do that a lot in this kind of music. A lot of trills that I'll talk about in a bit. But just try and sound folky. Okay, so after that we're going 0, 2, 4, 5, 7. Just practice going up and down those notes, you know, get the feel of the scale, the sound of the scale under your fingers. 0, 2, 4, 5, 7. You can let that bass note ring out and hear how that 7th fret on the top E sounds against it. So far we got 0, 2, 4, 5, 7. Then we've got 9. Zero, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. Okay. Then finally 11 on the top D string. And then if we just slide that up to the 12th, then we're home. There's your D. So if you want to write this down, I'll call them out slowly. If you can remember them, then that's much better. But just in case you forget, you should be able to figure it out by ear. It's just the major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But just to be safe, if you do think you might forget that, then you can go 0, 2, 4, 5. So 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. And in the way that with the blues, the way you kind of can noodle around the shape and the scale of the blues, you can also you can use the same concept and improvise. Keep that D drone going. So you can have a lot of fun just doing that. And I know a few people have told me they've learnt some of the songs off the site, and it's so soothing and nice, and you can kind of lose a few days just getting your head around this. Okay, so those notes, you can also play them on the bass string. Because that's a D as well. So there's your D, that's an A, that's a D as well. So once you've got those, that pattern under your fingers, you could also play it on the D string. 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. You could double it up. So the idea with this is just to get you a bit fluid, you know, just to loosen up the fingers and get the sound. It should sound pretty folky. And this is the D major scale. Before we look at the chords of the tuning, I'm going to show you a little trill that sounds kind of folky. If you go to, it's one pick and then a hammer on and a pull and two pull-offs. So you go pick, hammer on. So second fret of the top string, you hammer onto the fourth, pull off to the second, then pull off to open. And if you pick the bass string at the same time, it sounds even nicer, you know. You could even end it by sliding from the fourth fret on the what we normally call the B string. It's actually an A now. The second string, basically, from the fourth to the fifth fret. I'm actually just running down 5, 4, 2 off on that second string after the lick. And there's your D chord. Okay, so it's amazing how much fun you can have with D major on its own, isn't it? So looking back at the sheet now, these chords are actually built up from each note of the scale. So you've got D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. I'll be honest, it's not that important to know the names of the chords. Some people like to learn that. I personally don't myself. I'm much more into the pattern and the sound, because that's kind of important. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Often you hear people talking about major thirds and fourths and fifths. It's exactly what this is. There's your 1, your first. That's your second, major second. That's your major third. So open, second fret is the second. The fourth fret is the third, is the major third. The fourth fret is the major third, yeah? If you move it down to the third, which isn't in this exercise at all, but that's a minor third. So a minor third is flattened. So 0, 2, suddenly it's a minor chord. But we're in major. So 0, 2, 4. So that's the major third, it's on the 4th fret. We move up to the 5th fret. The 7th fret, that's your 5th, major 5th. The 9th fret is the 6th. The 11th fret is the 7th, the major 7th. And then to the 12th fret you're back to 1, or the 8th note. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Some people say, how can you hear a major 7th? That's a major 7. And how do you recognize a major 7th when you hear one? Well, you can think of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow. It's kind of a jazzier sounding chord. Anyway, sorry, I'm deviating a bit there. So let's look at these chords. So you've got a D, then you've got an E minor kind of shape. It's a kind of, they're all a bit spacey. I'm actually letting, what I'm doing is I'm playing sometimes I'll use my thumb to play that bass string like that. Other times I'll use my second finger and my third finger on the G. Now if you use your second finger you can also mute the A string with the second finger. So we're looking at the second shape in the DADGAD workout, E minor, on the first row. And what I'm doing is I'm muting this A string. And it just makes it a bit more kind of heavy on the E sound. So I'm letting the other strings ring out. It's really spacey. Okay, the next shape, if you get your first finger and stick it on the G string 2nd fret, and your third finger is now going to come to the 4th fret of the bass string. And again, I'm muting the A string naturally with this third finger. It's just, it hovers over there anyway, so I don't have to even think about it. It just, I'm not like reaching around trying not to mute it. I'm just letting it rest on the string. And from here on, up the neck, this first finger is always going to be on the G string, okay? And it's an F sharp minor, this chord, by the way. So let's just run through those first 3 chords. You've got D, E minor, F sharp minor. You can see why using the thumb is quite nice. can then keep my first finger there the whole time. But then that's also probably a bit more precise. Okay. Now, I'll tell you a little trick here. So that's a minor chord, that's F sharp minor, and do you see there's a fret in between the two? But this is actually the minor, the third note of the chord. This is the minor third. So after F sharp, the next chord is a G. F sharp. So on the root note, there's your F sharp. The next note will be a G. All you got to do is move that third finger to there, and your second finger is going to come in and play the G string. So sorry, when I said the first finger never moves, I actually meant the third finger never moves. Your third finger is always going to stay there from now on, and your first finger and second finger are going to switch depending on if it's a major chord. And if it's a major chord, you're going to use your second finger with no gap, with no fret in between. If it's a minor chord, then there'll be a gap between. It's a minor, major third, minor third. Okay. So you got 0, D, E minor, F sharp minor, G. Again, every time I'm muting the A string with that third finger. It's quite important to get these fingers right between the F sharp minor, using your first finger, and the G, using your second finger on the G string. It just makes it a lot more fluid, okay? And then we're going to move up from the G, we're going to move up, same shape, slide it up 2 frets to the 7th. So this third finger's on the 7th fret, which is the A. I'll show you a little pattern that I do to practice these chords. I'll pinch the bass string and then the D, the G, and the B, which is tuned down to an A. So these 3 strings, I'll go pinch. So I'm pinching the bass string and these 3, and then I play the top string, the highest string. And then I'll do the next chord, same pattern with the right hand. And also, rather than just pinching, you can also, you could go thumb, first finger, second, third, but kind of quite fast, like that. The whole idea is to try and make it sound as beautiful as possible. If any of this is going over your head, don't worry, I'm going to stick this in the archive. I'm recording this video, so it'll go in the archive. You can watch it back anytime you want. Okay, so there's your A. Shape after that, we need to get up to the 9th fret, and it's a B minor, which means there's going to be a gap between this fret, the bass string and the G string. So my first finger kicks in, plays the 7th fret of the G. So from the B, which is your 3rd finger on the 9th and your 1st finger on the 7th of the G, to get up to the next chord, C sharp minor, it's actually a C sharp minor half diminished. But again, it's not that important. The important thing is to know the pattern and the shape and the sound. You can play it like this if you struggle to get the pinky on the 11th fret of the D. But adding that note kind of is the correct sound. But to my ears, you can get away with playing an open D. So in the chord diagram, you'll see that's the 11th fret, 11th fret, 9th fret. And then finally at the end, 12th fret, we're just playing 2nd fingers on the 11th of the G, and your 3rd fingers on the 12th fret. Yeah, so just have a noodle around there. If anyone has any questions, now could be a good time. Otherwise I'll carry on in a sec, but I might just give you a minute to go up and down those chords. Get them under your fingers if you haven't already. Okay, so that set of chords, that first set of chords, you can play lots of songs with that set of chords, and it's all you need in a way to sound folky and nice in DADGAD. And over the coming weeks, that's going to become obvious to you as I teach you some songs. Or you could even look some up. There's a few on the site already in the folk library in DADGAD if you're interested in checking some out. If you haven't already, using these shapes, but there are hundreds of songs you can play, obviously. The next set of chords down below, they're the same chords, just a few more fingers. The first chord is again D. The second chord, now, all I'm doing is if you put your first finger on the bass string, 2nd fret, your second finger's on the D string, 2nd fret, and then your third finger's on the G, 2nd fret. That's a proper E minor in DADGAD. The first one works as an E minor too. It's a bit more of a full E minor sounding. And I actually mute the A string again because it's quite a clumsy chord to play, so it just naturally gets muted by the first finger, so you can hear the A string. Let the rest ring out, so it's kind of spacey. You can again use that technique where you pinch them and play the top E. The next shape is this. So there are 2 ways to play it. I struggle playing it this way, but what we're trying to do is bar the 4th fret of the bottom 3 strings, and then your first finger is on the G string, 2nd fret. And I think if you were to look in a textbook, that's probably how you'd see it photographed. But personally, I always play it like that. So I'll bar these 3 strings on the 4th fret with my 3rd finger. In the way, if you know a power chord, like a C power chord, like that, one of those bar chords where you bar it, it's the same idea, but you're just barring the bottom 3. Sorry, I was on the wrong fret there. So from the 4th fret, and then that finger's on the 2nd. It takes a bit getting used to, which is maybe why we do that. Okay. Another way to play it is which avoids having to bar or having to stretch, is if you put your 2nd finger on the bass string, 4th fret, your pinky on the 4th fret of the D, and then your first finger's on the 2nd fret of the G. Yeah? That's a very common way to play this shape, the F sharp minor. Again, that A is being muted, so you've got a very nice F sharp in the bass, really emphasizing the tone of the chord. Okay, so just get your fingers into that shape actually, because it comes in handy for the next chord shape. So 3rd finger's on the bass string, 4th fret. Your pinky's on the 4th fret of the D string. Appreciate these shapes might be killing you, but first finger's on the 2nd fret of the G, and then you can let the top 2 ring out. Okay, now if you slide that shape up and then take your first finger off and add your 2nd finger to the 4th fret of the G, then you've got a lovely G chord. F sharp to G, F sharp minor to G major. And what's great is from that position you just slide up again to the A on the 7th fret on the root note. will admit sometimes I play that chord, that shape with different fingers. I'm often using different fingers. Sometimes I'll play it like this. First finger, second and third to play the G. Other times like that. Doesn't really make too much difference. It just depends what's coming next. For example, after the B chord, after the A chord, which is 7th fret, miss the A, 7th fret, and then the 6th fret on the G. The next chord shape, we just slide up, as you can see in the diagram. We've got the B minor, which is the same shape as the F minor, just starting up on the 9th fret on the bass note. And so again, we're looking at the second row of chords here, and what you might see is the A string. Sometimes I include it and sometimes I don't. For example, the G chord looks like this, but the A chord looks like this. And basically, the reason I did that is to say you can do either or for any of the chords. They have a slightly different sound. It sounds a bit more full when you bar these bottom three on the less full, but a little bit more thin, but it's kind of nice too. Okay, so that's the B minor. Again, you can bar it, or you could just play it with the two fingers and mute the A string. This is where it gets a little bit trickier for the C half diminished, which isn't used that often. There is a sneakier way to play it, but just to carry on with the linear fashion of this lesson, yeah. So you have to play the 9th fret of the D, the 9th fret of the G, like that with your first and second fingers. Then you have to play the 10th fret of the A. And then if you can get your pinky onto the bass string, 11th. It's a bit of a stretch. That's a C half diminished. You can see why I just prefer to do that. Which, to be honest, you can hardly hear the difference. But another way to play that half diminished shape is if you just play the 4th fret of the A and the 5th fret of the D and just pick the middle 4 strings. That kind of works too. So 4th fret of the A, 5th fret of the D. But to be honest, you know, that this is, you know, you're only, when you learn a song, you know, you can really worry about that stuff, learning the shape. For now, it's just so you've got it if you're into knowing all of the chords. So, but it is a bit tricky, that one. Okay, so the third row of chords, yeah. Basically what they are is, it's kind of the second row but in reverse. Or should I say, it's the first row but in reverse, because there's your first chord, second chord, third chord that we looked at. The first row of chords, D, E minor, F sharp minor. Okay, but because we're in DADGAD, this string is a D, and so is this. So we can put the root on the top, so we could go. As we do. So we're looking at the third row of chords now, down. Sorry if this is a lot to take in, but it's all juicy stuff. So 0. So you play the D chord, then you're just going to get your second finger onto the second fret of the top D string, and I'm just picking from the D string here now. Then I'm using my pinky to play the 4th fret. It's a nice little run in itself. So that's the first 3 chords. D, E minor, F sharp minor. To get to the G, you've got to cover the 4th fret of the G and the 5th fret of the top string. Again, you can let that D string ring if you want, you know. Keep that drone going, that kind of, that folky. There's your G, 4th fret of the G, 5th fret of the top D string. If we then go up to the 7th fret, so your 3rd finger's on the 7th fret, that kind of works over an A. Carry on. The B minor is the 9th fret, and the 7th on the G, 7th, and the top E, it's the 9th. I have written the fret numbers in below the boxes just to be sure you know where you are. So yeah, I know it might take a bit of getting used to that, but okay, the C sharp, is just 9, 10, 11 on the top 3 strings. 9 on the G, 10 on the B, 11 on the top E. Again, I'm letting it ring out, the D. That's a personal thing, I quite like that. And then, to get home to D, it's just 11th fret of the G on the G string, 12th fret on the top E. And you can let all the strings ring out. yeah, I would kind of recommend the way to learn these shapes are just to look at each row, just slowly work through. And if you get it wrong, you'll hear if it's wrong. So it's like anything, it takes a while. It's almost like relearning to play. But I do recommend just going up the scale and down the scale and getting those chords under your fingers. So the last row of chords, it's, to be honest, it's almost identical to the third row, except instead of playing on this D string, I'm playing the notes on this D string. So the standard D string, which is normally tuned to D. So all I'm doing is going. Then here it gets a bit trickier. Just for the full half diminished shape. So I'll just run through those slowly for you. So it goes open, then you need to cover the second fret of the D string while holding down the second fret of the G. Then this is really useful stuff actually. Then it's the fourth fret of the D, second fret of the G. Again, I'm just picking the top 4 strings now. I'm ignoring the bottom 2. Like that. So we're going to go carry on up like normal. 0, 2nd fret, 4th fret on the bass, 5th fret on the bass. And in the same way, we need to be covering the 4th fret of the G at this point. So 5, 4. Then we move that up. 7 and 6. Then 9 and 7. So 9 on the D, 7 on the G. You could just, to play the C sharp, you could just move that shape up to there. Just move it up to 11 and 9. It's not completely correct, but honestly, to my ears, it sounds fine. The reason I put this chord in, well, it's beautiful, but also I was teaching for someone else, and I had to. It was actually for the editors of Guitarist magazine, which is very cool. So I couldn't make mistakes, and I had to do everything correctly. But normally I would just play it like that, instead of like that. And then finally, you're home. But it's up to you. So, oh, and as you can see on the final chord, I've actually covered the 12th fret, the 11th fret, open A, and then 12. You could even cover the 12th fret of the second string if you wanted to. And before I wrap up this lesson, you're thinking, well, great, I know all the chords, but I don't know any songs. One thing to do, the reason that folk music in my opinion, is quite easy to write. It's quite easy to write folk songs because these chords, almost every song I've written in the last 10 years, I've been in DADGAD when I write songs, because you could pick any of the chords. You could pick D, G, A, B. So we'll skip out I'm looking at the chord sheet right now, the DADGAD workout, and I'm looking at the first line and I'm thinking D, G, A, B. I'll see how that sounds if I just strum it. B to G, G. Sounds alright. A. I'm gonna go to B now. So go to F sharp here, let's try it. But even when... Back up to the G. I'll go down to that E minor, to the A. So the chords just work beautifully together in any order, is what I'm trying to say. So once you've got them under your fingers, you can just make stuff up and make sounds up. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? I mean, if you select gallery view, you can see everyone.